My grandmother called me the spine of the family for 31 years. What she meant was I was a support beam she had already mortgaged. My name is Cassandra Merritt. I'm 31, and the day I sent my parents the formal no-contact notice, my mom called me 52 times before sunrise. I didn't answer once. Voicemail 52 ended with 6 words she had never said to my face. "You'll destroy us. We built you." I texted back 5 words and hit send. Then I'm tearing it down. The letter I sent her the next morning, certified, return receipt, notarized, is still sitting on her dining room table unopened, for months and counting. What was inside it? What a collections agency in Phoenix told me 3 days later, and what my aunt did at her 75th birthday in front of 38 people. I'll walk you through every detail. Before I do, hit like, subscribe, and drop your city and current time in the comments. I read every single one. Now let me take you back to February 11th, 2026, the day the lender said no. The Thursday before everything fell apart, Sylvia Chambers leaned against my cubicle wall and smiled. "You won the Peterson case," she said. "Full recovery, 68-year-old retiree. Good work, Merritt." I thanked her without turning around. Small victories kept me moving. I'd been a legal assistant at Chambers & Voss for 5 years. Consumer rights, credit fraud, predatory loans, the unglamorous side of the law where people came in with shaking hands. My phone buzzed. "Marcus says the offer on Pine Ridge went through. Seller needs an answer by Thursday." "Marcus, we only toured it Sunday." "I know. That's why I'm calling." I laughed into the speaker. For bedrooms, a wraparound porch, a yard for the cats. We kept pretending we weren't about to buy our first home together. I called my mother from the break room. I always did. Twice a week like clockwork. "Oh, sweetheart," she said. "Are you sure the numbers work?" Something shifted beneath her voice. I didn't catch it then. We went over the budget. I told her Marcus's salary and my income were solid. "Well, I just worry. You know how lenders are these days." I should have heard the thin wire of fear running underneath. I heard concern. A mother's concern, I called it, because that was the word I'd always been given. Sylvia walked past me with a folder tucked under her arm. "Pull your own credit before they do, Cass. You'd be surprised what turns up." I nodded politely. My credit was clean. My taxes were current. I paid every bill the week it arrived. I had been the spine of this family for 31 years. Spines don't ask questions. Spines don't ask who opened a store account in 2007, or why the lender is about to call with a voice that doesn't sound like good news. That was about to change. Tuesday evening, Marcus and I walked through the Pine Ridge house a second time. He opened every closet. He measured the hallway. He stood in the main bedroom and said quietly, "We could actually live here." I leaned against the kitchen counter, cool marble under my hands. "Columbus," he said. "Regional director told me the relocation could happen by September." "How certain?" "Certain enough to want to close before then." We sat on the front steps while the agent locked up. The street was still, porch lights blinking on. A neighbor walking a retriever 2 doors down. "Cass, if we do this, I want to do it right." I squeezed his hand. "Then let's do it right." At home, I opened the lender's portal. Social security number, date of birth, employer, income, signature, traced with my finger on the touchpad. Submit. My phone rang. I knew before I looked. My mother. "Honey, good news or bad news first?" "We put in an offer." "Oh." A pause I didn't understand. "Oh, that's really wonderful. Listen, I need to talk to you about Aunt Rosemary's birthday." "Mom, she's turning 75, Cassandra." 75. "I need you to give the toast. It has to be you." "Of course. And wear something bright. Not that beige cardigan again. Something festive." I said yes. I always said yes. Marcus was loading dishes in the kitchen. He heard the last part. "Does she ever just call to say hello?" "That's just how she communicates." "Babe, you know you're allowed to say no sometimes, right?" I smiled at him. I did not, at that moment, understand what he meant. That was the comfort of not knowing yet. The one I was still living inside for a few more days. 3 days to be precise. The following Wednesday, 3:19 p.m. Sleet against the office glass. My desk phone rang. "Ms. Merritt, this is Patrick Huang at First Horizon. I have some difficult news regarding your pre-approval." "Difficult?" "Your application has been declined." I stood up, sat down, stood again. That can't be right. Can you double-check the file? Merritt. Merritt. That's what I have here. Your credit score came back at 491, Ms. Merritt, and there are 11 open accounts listed in delinquent status. I walked out of the office, past Sylvia's door, past the reception desk, into the parking structure. I forgot my coat. I sat in my car with the engine off and opened the credit monitoring app. Fingers unsteady on the screen. 12 seconds of loading, then the report. Target card, opened April 2007. I was 15. A Visa from 2010. A department store card in 2013. Electronics retailer 2015. A furniture account 2017. A hospital bill from Riverside Medical for a procedure I never had. A personal loan for $28,000 dated August 2018. Another for $14,000. Another for $31,000. Every single account mailed to one address. My parents' house in Westbrook. Total outstanding balance. $162,740. I didn't cry. My hands didn't tremble. I just sat staring at the steering wheel and heard my own voice, flat as a deposition. Someone opened a credit account in my name the year I was learning to drive. I called Marcus. Babe, I said. I need you to come get me. Something is seriously wrong. Are you hurt? No. I'm not hurt. Where are you? Parking structure level 3. On my way. I had spent 5 years untangling fraud for strangers. Somehow untangling it for myself had never entered my mind. 17 years of never entering. We sat at Marcus's kitchen table with the full 39-page report printed out, highlighters, a yellow notepad. He circled the dates. I tracked the addresses. We worked quietly. The way you work when you already know what you're finding. Every single account, he said. Same P.O. box. Same street address. That's their place. I know. I pulled a binder from my bag. I had kept every tax return since I was 20. Every lease, every contract. Legal work was my religion. Inside the binder, a loan application from March 2010. A signature in black ink at the bottom. Cassandra Merritt. Too neat. Too stiff. The C leaned the wrong direction. I had signed my name thousands of times. I knew exactly what my name looked like. That's not my signature, Marcus. That is a forgery. He leaned back and rubbed his face. He'd been in law enforcement for 7 years. He already knew. Cass, you know what this is? Federal identity theft, I said quietly. Across state lines. Ongoing criminal enterprise. 17 years. I clicked the newest entry. A credit card opened in 2024. Balance $2,100. Status, current. Monthly payments on time. Someone is actively using it right now. Marcus stared at the screen. Cass, who makes on-time payments for 17 years and doesn't stop? I knew the answer. I'd known since the very first line of the report. The person making timely payments was the person running the operation. The person who understood exactly how long a clean credit line could survive if you kept feeding it carefully. My mother had always kept her own credit immaculate. She had reminded me of that my entire life. She needed a second name, a backup, a reserve. I was the reserve name. I called her from the kitchen. I wrote my opening line on a note card first. Mom, I need to ask you about something I found on my credit report. 2 seconds of silence. Long enough to hear her exhale. Oh, sweetheart, that's identity theft. It's rampant right now. You have to watch out for phishing emails. Mom, I'm serious. Karen at the office had her SSN stolen at a gas station. Mom, one of these accounts is being paid from a checking number ending in 3892. The silence stretched. In the background, I heard my father. Beverly, I told you she'd figure it out eventually. My mother began to cry. Why are you attacking me on a Wednesday? You know what I've given you, Cassandra. I asked you a question. Your father doesn't know what he's saying. He's overwhelmed with work. Mom, whose account ends in 3892? Honey, can we talk about this another time? I held the phone away from my ear. Marcus was watching from across the table. He didn't move. He didn't have to. My father's voice came through again. Beverly, just tell her. Gerald, stop. I hung up. The kitchen was very quiet. A neighbor's lawnmower started somewhere outside. Marcus put his hand over mine. She didn't ask how much you'd found. I noticed. She didn't deny it. She redirected. I noticed. Your dad said eventually. I heard him. I set my phone down face up. It lit up with her name already calling back. I turned it face down. My father had always been the quiet one at every table. Quiet wasn't innocence. Quiet was a choice he had made with his eyes shut for 17 years. In the first 2 hours after I hung up, 13 calls came from my mother, 3 from my father, 4 from my Aunt Donna, whose son had already heard the family version first. I didn't answer any of them. Marcus heated leftover soup. I sat at his table and drafted a timeline on the back of an old grocery receipt. Each account, each year, each address. Cass, you need outside legal counsel. Sylvia is your boss, not your attorney. Someone with no connection to any of this. Someone who has nothing at stake if it turns ugly. I nodded without looking up. My phone rang again. Voicemail. I put it on speaker. My mother's voice came through the kitchen, thin and clipped. Cassandra. Cassandra. Please. You're going to make your father sick with stress. Call me back. Marcus set the soup down in front of me. Eat. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. I ate. It was too salty. I didn't care. At 11:22 p.m. I opened my laptop and wrote a short email to Sylvia. Subject. Personal situation. Are you available before 7:30 tomorrow? Body. I'd prefer to keep this off the shared calendar. I hit send. My phone lit up again. Call 22 of the night. 52 would be the final count. 52 would be the number I carried with me for the rest of my life. The number pressed into the story I told myself. The number that would eventually lead me to stand in a garden full of relatives and hand my mother an envelope she would still refuse to open weeks later. I didn't know that yet. That night it was still only 22. 7:15 a.m. Sylvia's office smelled like eucalyptus and stale espresso. She hadn't slept. I could tell. She read the report in silence. 39 pages. Her reading glasses rode down her nose and she didn't push them back. She set the pages flat on her desk. After 6 minutes she looked at me. Cassandra, sit down. Listen carefully. I'm listening. The federal component outweighs the dollar amount. The firm holds a state consumer affairs contract. You signed the compliance disclosure in 2020. I remember. If you carry unresolved fraud on your file, that disclosure flags for review. If it flags, you come off the Peterson case and the Dumont settlement. I know. If those go, your position becomes complicated. I would fight for you. It would still be a fight. I let that rest between us. She didn't rush me. 3 options, she said. Civil litigation. Criminal referral to the state AG. Full federal complaint to the CFPB and let them lead. Or option 4. Absorb the debt. Negotiate a payment plan. Keep the family together, move on. I laughed once, quickly, without warmth. There is no option 4, Sylvia. I know. I wanted you to say it yourself. She slid a legal pad across the desk. A pen. Let's start with the CFPB identity theft affidavit, then the state police report, then the cease and desist. We'll have a picture by Friday. Sylvia. Yes. I don't want revenge. She looked at me steadily. Good. Revenge is messy. Revenge loses in court. We're not doing revenge. We're getting your name back. Picked up the pen. I started writing. My hand did not shake. That afternoon I filed simultaneously. CFPB identity theft affidavit, printed, signed, notarized by the office administrator who asked nothing and handed me a bottle of water. Westbrook Police Department. Report taken by Detective Avery, a former colleague of Marcus who recused herself before I stepped through the door. Avery took my statement for 45 minutes, gave me a case number, and said the sentence I would hear repeatedly over the following weeks. Ms. Merritt, I am very sorry. Fraud alerts placed with all 3 bureaus. Complete 7-year credit reports requested from each, sent by certified mail. State Secretary of Business search opened on every entity registered at my parents' address. Marcus drove me home. What do you want the outcome to be, Cass? Tell me how this ends. I watched the streetlights move across the windshield. I took a long breath. I want to walk into Aunt Rosemary's 75th birthday in 4 weeks without a single debt on my record that isn't mine. Okay. I want to keep my job. Okay. I want my mother to understand this is not a misunderstanding. Okay. And I want to sleep through one full night without her ringtone in my head. Marcus reached across and took my hand. He didn't say okay to that one. He knew better. For days later, a white envelope arrived in my mailbox. Return address: Internal Revenue Service, Kansas City, Missouri. The front read, "Attention Cassandra and Merritt. Balance due $9,840. I opened it standing at the curb. Read one paragraph. I thought I had already seen the worst. The IRS letter was a starting gun. The letter cited Schedule C for tax year 2021. A sole proprietorship. Business name: Merritt Consulting Solutions LLC. Reported gross revenue $74,000. I had never owned an LLC. I had never filed a Schedule C. I was a W-2 legal assistant who paid $49 on TurboTax every April. I searched Merritt Consulting Solutions LLC in the State Business Registry. The entity existed, filed January 2017. Status: active. Registered agent: Gerald P. Merritt. Primary address: my parents' house. Member on record: Cassandra and Merritt. I pulled my 2021 return from the filing cabinet. W-2 only. $43,500 in wages, standard deduction, refund of $304. Two people named Cassandra Merritt had filed taxes for 2021. One was me. The other was whoever had submitted a Schedule C through my parents' accountant. I called Sylvia. I didn't wait for a greeting. "Sylvia, there's a second tax return under my name with business income one never earned. The IRS is pursuing me for unpaid taxes on it." She paused briefly. "Cassandra, that's not just credit fraud. That's federal tax fraud. Criminal Investigations Division. I know. You'll need to file Form 14039 with the IRS separately from your CFPB submission. Completely separate department. Yes. I'm going to contact Nathan Webb at the state attorney's office. I owe him a call anyway. Thank you." I hung up and sat at my desk with the letter in front of me. I was trembling. Not from fear, from the specific cold that comes when the walls of a maze you've been living in grow higher, and you realize they were designed by someone who said they loved you. My parents had rented my name to the federal government. That was its own sentence. It deserved its own file. My phone buzzed on the desk. "Trisha. Hey, see, Mom is falling apart. What's happening? You okay?" I waited 12 minutes before responding. I needed a clear head. I stepped outside and called her from a bench behind the building under a bare oak tree. "Hey, Tri, let me ask you something. Okay. The $25,000 Mom and Dad gave you for the down payment on your condo. Where did they say it was from?" "Inheritance from Uncle Roger after he passed. Mom said it was set aside for us. Uncle Roger died in 2004. Tri." A long pause. "And the SUV?" "The 2019 Explorer. Home equity," Mom said. "She refinanced to pull it out." I closed my eyes. My parents' mortgage had never carried usable equity. They bought the house short sale in 2007 and stayed underwater. Try one more. "Your student debt. $65,000. Navient. Still paying. Who co-signed?" "You did see. Mom told me you volunteered. You wanted to help me finish school." I stared up at the oak. A pair of sparrows landed on a branch watching me like they had nowhere better to be. "Trisha, I never co-signed anything for you." Silence. The kind that pulls a whole life through it in a matter of seconds. "See, I don't understand." "I know you don't. I'll tell you what I know when I have every document in front of me. Until then, don't mention this to Mom. Cassandra, please." "Try." "Okay." I hung up. I had advised clients never to alert a family member until the paperwork was verified. Now I was following my own advice. It felt worse from this end of the phone. By Thursday, the family had quietly, politely mobilized against me, the way a neighborhood block association organizes around a grievance. Aunt Donna called at 9:07 a.m. "Cassandra, your mother is beside herself. Whatever this misunderstanding is, we are a family and we work things through together." "Aunt Donna, I appreciate you. I can't discuss this right now. Cassandra, I love you. I'll see you Saturday at Rosemary's." I hung up carefully. I wrote the call on a notepad. Date, time, content. I was building a file. At 10:30 a.m. Deacon Mills emailed. Subject: Thinking of your family. Body Cassandra, your mother mentioned some difficulties. If you'd consider coming in this week for a quiet conversation, the door is always open. I filed it. Date time forwarded to Sylvia. At 1:45 p.m. My cousin Jenna texted, "Hey, is everything all right? Aunt Beverly said you're going through a hard time. Need anything? Love," from a cousin who hadn't texted me since New Year's 2024. My mother had run her version of events ahead of mine. She had 36 hours and no facts, and she had turned her panic into a campaign. She had done this before. That was what frightened me. I stepped out to get lunch from the sandwich counter across the block. Aunt Donna called twice while I was in line. Her third voicemail ended with a sentence I had been hearing my whole life from different voices. "Your mother gave you everything, Cassandra. And now you're making her cry on a Thursday." I stared at my phone. I bit into the sandwich. I had never noticed before how the word everything does most of the heavy lifting in a manipulator's vocabulary. It means whatever the speaker needs it to mean that particular morning. Dr. Patricia Lewiston's practice was on the third floor of a stone building in Cincinnati, above a pharmacy and below an insurance office. 2 decades of expert witness credentials framed along the wall. She placed 16 documents on a light table. Loan applications, a tax form, 3 credit card originations. She set 4 verified samples beside them: my driver's license signature, my employee enrollment form, my apartment lease from 2015, a signed receipt from 2019. She used a magnifying glass and software running pattern analysis. She narrated quietly in language I recognized from my own work. Pen angles, lift intervals, pressure gradients. After 2 hours she sat back. 13 of 16 are forgeries, Ms. Merritt. The remaining 3 I'd like to retest with cleaner samples. On what basis? Pen pressure inconsistencies. The signer lifted midstroke an average of 4 times per signature. Your authentic samples show almost no midstroke lifts. Your C is continuous. The forged C is constructed. Whoever did this wasn't copying. They were working from practice. How long would this level of consistency take to develop? She looked at me directly. No pity. Just the answer. Ms. Merritt, this is rehearsed work. Several years minimum. The earlier forgeries are rougher. They refine noticeably after 2013. Whoever signed these signed them regularly. I swallowed. I didn't cry. I wrote the word rehearsed on my notepad and underlined it twice. I'll have a complete report in 10 to 14 business days. Court admissible. Full chain of custody. Thank you, Dr. Lewiston. Ms. Merritt, may I ask what you do professionally? Legal assistant. Consumer Rights Division. She nodded once slowly. Then you already understand what this means? Yes, ma'am. I understand exactly what it means. I walked down 3 flights and called Sylvia from the lobby. Rehearsed. The word stayed in my chest for 4 days. Marcus and I drove to Westbrook on Saturday evening. I brought a folder, 1 page, 3 items. 1. Sign a written acknowledgement of full responsibility for the 11 accounts. 2. Transfer all associated debt into your names within 45 days. 3. Close every account, credit line, and tax filing currently listed under my name. If they signed, I would not pursue a federal referral. That was the offer. It was generous. Sylvia had told me it was too generous. I had asked for it anyway. My father was at the kitchen table when we walked in. He didn't stand. My mother was at the counter wiping a surface that was already clean. Her hair was done the way she wore it to church. "Sit down," she said. "Let me put coffee on." "We won't be long, Mom." I placed the page on the table. She wouldn't look at it. "I'm asking for 3 things in writing. If you sign this, it stays between us." My mother picked up the page. She read 2 lines. Her expression didn't shift. "This is how you treat me, Cassandra. After all of it." "Mom, please sign the document. I have a heart condition." "Mom, please sign." "I will not sign something that makes me look like a criminal to Deacon Mills. You don't have to show it to anyone. You just have to sign it for me." Her hand moved to her chest. The familiar gesture. I had seen it 10,000 times. My father spoke without lifting his eyes. "Honey, these are your parents. Don't put this on paper." I stood up. I took the page. I folded it in half and slid it back into the folder. "All right." My mother blinked. All right, Mom. This is now a public matter. Marcus put his hand on my back. We walked out. No coffee. No goodbye. Just the sound of the screen door clicking shut behind us. I want to pause here for a moment. Some of you know that kitchen. You know that countertop she was wiping. You know the exact silence of the moment your mother chose not to sign. If you have ever stood up and walked out of a room like that, drop your city in the comments so you know you're not alone on that drive home. And if this story is speaking for something you've been carrying, hit the like button. I see you. Let's keep going. Call number 24 is about to come in. The phone rang at 10:38 p.m. on Sunday. Trisha, see, Mom just called me. She says you're threatening to destroy the family. What is going on? Try, are you sitting down? No. Sit down. I heard a chair move. I emailed her 4 documents while we talked. The personal loan from 2018. The vehicle title loan from 2017. A credit card application from the year she started community college. Her own student loan cosign record. I heard her inhale 3 times. I heard her cry on the 4th. See the cosign. What did Mom tell you? She said you insisted. She said you believed in me and wanted to see me graduate without debt. She said you made her promise not to tell me so I wouldn't feel guilty. Try, see, I wrote you a birthday card every year thanking you. I thought you never mentioned it because you were modest. Try, I never co-signed anything. Mom forged that signature. A long silence. I heard her husband Derek asking something quietly in the background. Cassandra, you basically paid for my degree. No, I didn't. If she forged it, I'm legally liable for $65,000 of your loans. I'm working through a fraud removal process. Takes time. See, I owe you. You don't owe me anything, Try. You were young. Nobody told you. Then I owe her a conversation. You can have that later. Right now I need one thing. Anything. Don't contact her for 5 days. Not until after Aunt Rosemary's party. I know what I'm doing and I need her off balance. Can you manage that? Yes, see. Yes. If you thought I missed your graduation because I was jealous, it's because she told me you didn't want me there. She started crying harder. I stayed on the line until she stopped. Sunday morning my mother posted on Facebook at 8:47 a.m. Some seasons you pour everything you have into your children and they turn their back on you without warning. Please hold our family in your thoughts. 94 comments. Aunt Donna. Beverly, surrounding you with love. Deacon Mills. Praying hands emoji. A woman from the fellowship group. Our family went through this too. Time is the only healer. I read every comment. Marcus read them over my shoulder. Do you want to respond? No. Screenshot taken. Sent to Sylvia. She's building a public narrative. She's making sure the verdict lands before the trial even starts. That's a deliberate strategy. It only holds if I engage. He sat down next to me. He handed me tea. So what's the counter move? Silence. Legal filings. A court date. Not a single word under her post. Never a word under her post. I set my phone down face up. I scrolled past her name like scrolling past someone I'd known years ago. I opened my laptop. I typed nothing public. I added every screenshot, every comment, every timestamp to a folder labeled Document B. I did not post. I did not react. I did not explain myself. There is a pull when you know you are right. To prove it immediately. To respond. To correct the record on a Sunday afternoon. That pull is a trap. The only audience that matters in a federal identity theft case is a district court judge, a CFPB fraud analyst, and 3 credit bureau investigators. None of them read Facebook comment sections. I closed the app. I went for a walk. I let my mother have Sunday on social media. Monday was mine. Monday was paperwork. Paperwork was where I lived. Monday at 7 a.m. Sylvia handed me a 3-page cease and desist letter on firm letterhead. I read it twice. The language was clean. No sentiment. No interpretation. Immediate cessation demanded. Notice of pending proceedings. Document preservation requirement. Copy directed to Respondents' Counsel of Record. London Cary, Westbrook, Ohio. My parents' attorney since 2001. I signed in my real handwriting. Sylvia countersigned as supervising attorney. Firm seal applied. 1 original for Lund, she said. 1 sealed copy for our file. 1 for your parents. Delivered personally. Whenever you choose. The court filing stands regardless. While I was signing, I was finalizing in parallel. CFPB identity theft complaint. Case number assigned. Westbrook PD supplemental statement filed with Detective Avery. IRS Form 14039 mailed certified to Kansas City. State Business Registry fraud complaint on the LLC. Received and stamped. Equifax Experian TransUnion fraud investigations. All 3 opened. Social Security Administration identity alert. Filed. 9 agencies. 9 case numbers. 9 separate pieces of paperwork that existed in the world whether my mother acknowledged them or not. Sylvia walked me to the elevator at noon. Cassandra. Yes. You're going to prevail. I want to say that before you forget how this felt. I hugged her. Surprised us both. That afternoon, her assistant faxed the cease and desist to Lund and Carrie. I watched the confirmation sheet come through. I tucked it in my bag. Lund would call my parents Friday. Aunt Rosemary's birthday was Saturday. The envelope I would hand my mother, the one she still hasn't opened, was already sealed and sitting on my kitchen counter in a brown sleeve. Friday at 4:05 p.m. Lund called my parents. I know the exact time because Lund's paralegal, who had known me since I was 9, quietly left me a voicemail 30 minutes later. Cassandra, he made the call. Wanted you to know. Take care of yourself this weekend. The first call from my mother came at 5:12 p.m. I was at Marcus's apartment making dinner for his mother, who was visiting from Dayton. I watched the screen light. I didn't pick up. Call 2 at 5:15. Call 3 at 5:18. Call 4 at 5:22. By 6:40 p.m. 15 calls. Marcus's mother, Elaine, poured me sparkling water and sat beside me. Honey, do you need to talk? Not yet, Elaine. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to be right here quietly on your side then. I smiled for the first time in 4 days. Voicemails started after call 17. My mother almost never leaves voicemails. She had left 4 by dinner. I listened to them in order in Marcus's car on the drive home. Number 9. You have no idea what you're doing to this household. Number 26. Your aunt is going to be devastated at her own party. Number 34. Soft crying. Cassandra. Cassandra. Answer me. I'm your mother. Number 44. Your father hasn't left his room since the attorney called. Number 49. If you go forward with this, you have no family left. Do you hear me? None. I powered off the phone in my lap. Marcus glanced at me. Okay. Every voicemail is another floor in the building she's constructed. Not one floor has the word sorry in it. That's a verdict, Cass. I know. Write it down. I wrote it on the back of a drive-through receipt. I still have it. It's in a box in my spare room. Saturday morning, Marcus and I drove to Aunt Rosemary's house an hour and a half early. I brought the photo album from the 1970s she'd mentioned last Christmas, the one with pictures of her and my grandmother at the shore, both of them laughing, summer dresses, bare feet in the sand. Aunt Rosemary was already in the kitchen when we arrived, dressed and ready, silver earrings, a deep blue blouse, no shoes yet. Cassandra, you're early. I wanted time with you before everyone else. She took both my hands. Her palms were warm and dry. Honey, is something wrong between you and your mother? I didn't lie to her. I also didn't make it her day to carry. Rosie, today is yours. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. Promise. She studied my face the way she'd been studying faces for 75 years. Former nurse, lifelong reader of rooms. She knew when someone had already made a decision. Your mother has always been that way, sweetheart. Since she was a girl. Did you know that? I knew. Sometimes the people who've seen everything are too worn out to say it plainly. I waited. She squeezed my hands harder. You don't need their permission, Cassandra. You need their blessing. And those are two different things. Only one of them I have the right to give. Rosie, I've had yours since the day I was born. I didn't cry in her kitchen. I cried quietly in her bathroom with the tap running and my forehead against the mirror. I washed my face. I reapplied my lip color. I went back out. Marcus was helping her hang a paper banner along the back fence. I had 2 hours before my mother would arrive. I was ready. We left Aunt Rosemary's at 10:35 a.m. to pick up extra napkins from the party supply store. Marcus drove. I sat with the brown envelope across my lap. 10:52 a.m. My phone buzzed in the console. 50-second call from my mother since 7 p.m. the evening before. I picked up the phone. I pressed play on the voicemail. Her voice came through the speaker. It wasn't crying anymore. It was dry. The kind of dry that follows someone who has cried everything out already. Cassandra, you think you have the right to do this? You think this is acceptable? You'll regret this. We made you. Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. He said nothing. I pressed stop. I sat for 2 minutes watching a crow land on top of a parked mail truck. Then I opened my texts. I scrolled to her name. I typed one sentence. Then I'm unmaking it. I hit send. The message delivered. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then came back. Then stopped. No response. I put my phone in the glove compartment. I set my hand on the brown envelope in my lap. Babe, Marcus said quietly. You still want to go in? Yes. Okay. I wrote what's in this envelope 2 nights ago. My mother doesn't know it exists yet. In 2 hours she will. Okay. And she will not open it. Not today. Not this week. I need to say that now so you understand what you're seeing later. He nodded once. He drove. The store was 8 minutes away. There are sentences a mother says that a daughter cannot unhear. My mother had finally said an honest one. We got to Aunt Rosemary's at 11:41 a.m. 38 chairs were arranged. A linen tablecloth was spread. A 2-tier cake read Rosemary 75 in lilac frosting, decorated by a cousin who taught baking classes on weekends. My mother saw me through the back window. She turned away. My father gave me a stiff nod from across the yard. He was straightening chairs that didn't need straightening. I walked the brown envelope into the house and set it on the hall table beside Rosemary's birthday cards. I didn't hide it. I didn't announce it. It looked like any other envelope in a house full of them. Trisha found me in the hallway and grabbed my elbow. See, please don't do anything today. Just get through the cake. I'm not going to do anything. See. Mom is going to do it herself. She always does. Trisha blinked. Her eyes were already red. What do you mean? Watch her for the next 2 hours. She won't be able to stay quiet. She'll need to say something with everyone present. She always needs the room. See. Trust me. She let go of my arm. Deacon Mills arrived at 12:02. Aunt Donna at 12:09. The Hendersons from next door at 12:17. Mrs. Garrett from the fellowship group in a hat I remembered from a holiday potluck years ago. I moved from guest to guest. I asked about grandchildren. I brought rosemary lemonade. I laughed at Cousin Jenna's story about a raccoon and a recycling bin. I was calm. I had been calm for 4 days. The nature of someone who performs victimhood is that they cannot endure a room that isn't oriented toward them. Aunt Rosemary sat at the head of the table in a wicker chair she'd had for 30 years. She wore a corsage Aunt Donna had pinned on her, and she looked 15 years younger than she was. At 1:09 p.m. Trisha tapped her water glass with a fork. Can Cassandra go first? She needs to leave a bit early. I did not need to leave early. Trisha was giving me the floor before our mother could take it. Good thinking. I stood up. I held no notes. I had been composing this in my head for weeks. When I was 7 years old, my Aunt Rosemary taught me to make her lemon cake. I was terrified of the mixer. She told me, Cass, baking is forgiving. If you overmix it, it's still batter. Just start over. Laughter moved around the table. When I was 11, I had a rough year. I sat at her kitchen counter and cried into a mug of cocoa. She put her hand over mine and said, Honey, you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. Not even to me. The yard grew quieter. My mother was watching me from the far end of the table. Her face had gone very still. Rosie, I am the person I am because a woman before me refused to make herself invisible. I love you. I love you in every season, in every room, in every difficulty, for every remaining day. Happy 75th. I raised my glass. 37 glasses lifted with me. My mother's hand went up last halfway. She did not drink. Aunt Rosemary smiled with her whole face. Aunt Rosemary's eyes were bright. She had always known. She had simply been waiting. My mother stood at 1:23 p.m. She had no glass. She held a cloth napkin she kept folding and unfolding. Rosemary, Mama, I love you. Happy birthday. 37 heads nodded. She looked down the table at me. I just want to say, as a mother, how painful it is when children turn away. The temperature in the yard shifted. Deacon Mills nodded with sympathy. Aunt Donna folded her arms slowly across her chest. Some of us have given everything we had so our daughters could have a life we never got to live. And sometimes those daughters decide that the word boundaries means they owe you nothing at all. She was no longer looking at Aunt Rosemary. She was looking directly at me. Cassandra, I raised you. We made you. And now at my mother's 75th birthday I have to watch you. She stopped. She couldn't locate the end of the sentence. She had walked out onto a limb and realized too late there was no plan for where to land. Aunt Rosemary set her lemonade glass down on the tablecloth. The sound it made was small. The silence after it was enormous. Aunt Rosemary's expression changed. Everyone at those 38 seats felt it change. Aunt Donna glanced at Deacon Mills. Deacon Mills's mouth opened and closed. My father at the far end of the table was studying his own plate. Tricia's husband Derek set down his fork. My mother stood alone in a yard full of people gripping a napkin, waiting for someone, anyone, to step in and rescue her. No one moved. A person who has built a life around being rescued assumes the room will always comply. This room was not going to comply. Not this time. Not in Aunt Rosemary's garden. I stood up slowly. I did not rush. Rushing would have been the wrong choice. I walked around the long table. My mother tracked me the whole way, napkin still twisted in her fist. I stopped briefly behind my father's chair. He didn't look up. Then I walked to the hallway. I picked up the brown envelope from beside Rosemary's birthday cards. I walked back. I set it on the tablecloth in front of my mother. Mom, this is yours. You can open it now or whenever you're ready. Her hand did not move. Inside is a formal cease and desist letter from Chambers and Voss, where I work. There is also a copy of the CFPB identity theft complaint I filed Wednesday, a copy of the Westbrook police report I filed Thursday, Dr. Lewiston's preliminary forensic handwriting analysis, and the case numbers for the IRS investigation and the state business registry complaint. The yard was completely silent. I'm not here to interrupt Aunt Rosemary's celebration. I love every person at this table. But the 11 fraudulent credit accounts, the LLC registered in my name, and the $65,000 student loan my sister didn't know I supposedly co-signed, those end today. Aunt Donna spoke before Deacon Mills. Her voice came out thin. Helena, Cassandra, you work in that department? Consumer rights. Identity theft. Her mouth open, closed. She looked at my mother. Deacon Mills leaned forward. Cassandra, surely this belongs in the family. I turned to him carefully. I had prepared this line. Deacon, with respect, interstate identity theft is a federal matter. It stopped being a family matter the first time she signed my name in 2007. He didn't respond. He leaned back. Tricia was crying quietly. My father was still looking at the table. My mother had not touched the envelope. I looked at her. I kept my voice even. I'm not angry, Mom. I'm prepared. There's a difference. Then I sat down. The cake had not yet been served. My mother finally looked at the envelope. She did not reach for it. How could you do this here? Mom, Lund has had his copy since 4 o'clock yesterday. The court date is already on the calendar. I sent you this one as a courtesy certified so you'd have your own copy. The filings are not dependent on you opening it. What court date? 7 weeks from Tuesday. Preliminary civil hearing and criminal referral to the district attorney. Once the criminal referral is submitted, it is no longer in my hands. That's how the process works. She sat down slowly, as though her legs had stopped receiving instructions. My father pressed his palms over his face. Aunt Donna did not speak. Deacon Mills did not speak. Tricia reached under the table and took my hand. She held it tightly. She didn't let go. Aunt Rosemary stood up. For 1 second I thought she was going to address me. I braced myself. She walked the full length of the table. Past my mother. Past my father. She came around behind my chair. She put her hand on my shoulder. She leaned down. Every person at the table could hear. You did the right thing, sweetheart. Then she straightened up. She looked at her sister Beverly. Cut the cake, honey. Everyone came here to celebrate. My mother did not move. Aunt Donna stood up and cut the cake herself. She served Rosemary first. She served me second. She served my mother last. She did not meet my mother's eyes. Some families come undone in shouting. Some families come undone in the sound of a cake server against a porcelain plate. Ours was the second kind. We ate the cake. It was lemon with buttercream. It was very good. We left at 2:51 p.m. Marcus drove. I rested my forehead against the window and watched flat fields passing in the late February gray. I didn't turn my phone on for 35 minutes. When I finally did, 21 messages were waiting. Cousin Jenna. I don't even know what to say. I love you. Aunt Donna, Cassandra. I need to understand this. Can we speak next week? Cousin Pete. I had absolutely no idea. Text me whenever. One from Trisha. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I love you. One from an unsaved number. This is Mrs. Henderson from next door. What you did today took real courage. If you ever need a witness to anything, I have a sharp memory. Deacon Mills, one line, I owe you a conversation. 3 from my mother. None from my father. I didn't open my mother's 3. Called Sylvia from the car. It's done, I said. Sylvia, go home. Rest. Tell me on Monday. Sylvia? Yes. Aunt Rosemary put her hand on my shoulder. She was quiet for a moment. That's your whole case right there, Cassandra. I know. I hung up. I looked at Marcus. How do you feel? Like I just walked out of a fire I've been living inside for 17 years. The building is still burning. I'm just not in it anymore. He reached across and took my hand. The credit bureau called Tuesday at 11:17 a.m. I didn't know it was coming. That call is the part one still need to tell you. It's the part that made the paperwork feel real. Tuesday, 11:17 a.m. I was at my desk reviewing discovery materials for the Peterson file. My cell rang. Atlanta area code. Cassandra Merritt speaking. Ms. Merritt, this is Dominique Shaw, Senior Fraud Analyst at Equifax. I've personally reviewed your case. Do you have a few minutes? Yes, ma'am. I have 11 disputed accounts listed under your Social Security number, all open between 2007 and 2024. I've cross-referenced your CFPB affidavit, your police report, and the preliminary handwriting report from Dr. Lewiston, which I received a copy of this morning. Okay. All 11 accounts will be removed from your Equifax file within 30 days. I've already coordinated with Experian and TransUnion. You should see corresponding removals from both within 45 days. Your projected score after cleanup is estimated between 781 and 796, based on your existing positive history on your one legitimate account. Is this acceptable? I closed my eyes. Yes, Dominique. That's acceptable. Ms. Merritt, off the record, may I ask you something? Of course. I see these cases every day. Most of them reach me years after the victim first suspects, sometimes longer. You moved from discovery to a full federal filing in 9 business days. What pushed you to move that quickly? I looked out the window. Pigeon was on the ledge. The winter light was pale and low. I work in consumer rights. I've watched this happen to people for 5 years. I wasn't going to let it happen to me for another week. Dominique was quiet. Ms. Merritt, I'm going to accelerate this file. You will have a clean report before the end of next week. I'm also flagging your SSN with the designation we use internally. Any future creditor will receive an automatic verification alert before approving anything new. Thank you, Dominique. Ma'am, go get your house. I laughed out loud for the first time in 3 weeks. Lund emailed Sylvia on Thursday. He proposed a settlement. $38,000 over 48 months. Cassandra withdraws all civil claims. Family relationship to be restored on, in his words, a shared path toward healing. Sylvia read it at our Friday check-in. She laughed the particular way she laughs when opposing counsel has miscalculated. Lund is short by more than $100,000. Documented principal is $162,000. Punitive damages are on the table, and the criminal referral is no longer your call. Once the DA picks this up, you don't control the outcome. I know. So how should I respond? I had thought about it in the car, in the shower, at Marcus's kitchen table in the dark at 3 a.m. Principal only. $162,000 over 30 months, secured by a lien on the Westbrook property. Interest at the current federal rate. Full written acknowledgement of responsibility. No clause about restoring the relationship. I'm not negotiating that. Sylvia wrote it down. And the criminal referral stays open. I can't withdraw it. Tax fraud is federal jurisdiction. I wouldn't withdraw it even if I could. It's not mine to forgive. Not yours to carry. No. Sylvia looked at me over her glasses. Cassandra, you're going to land on your feet. I know. I walked back to my office. I had the Peterson file to close. A new intake appointment to prepare for. My actual life to return to. The one with a lemon tree in a backyard and a cat we hadn't adopted yet. I handed my parents to the system. The system exists for exactly this. Trisha invited me to her apartment the following Saturday. Coffee, just the two of us. I had not been inside her home in nearly 2 years. My mother had told me she needed distance. Trisha had told me I seemed withdrawn. We sat at her kitchen table. The coffee was strong. Her husband Derek had gone to the farmer's market on purpose to give us the morning. Trisha started. See, my entire life Mom told me you were competitive with me. That's why I assumed you didn't come to my engagement dinner. I didn't come because Mom told me you wanted a small guest list and I wasn't on it. We both stopped. Then we both started laughing. The fractured kind of laughter you do when the floor of your entire childhood turns out to have been hollow. She set us against each other. Yes. Deliberately. Yes. For nearly 30 years. Yes. Trisha pressed a paper towel to her eyes. Can we start over? From right now? Yes, but gradually. And we tell each other the truth about money going forward. Every bit of it. Every bit. Promise. We hugged. She smelled like the same soap she used in high school. Before I left, she handed me a small folder. What is this? Documents. Notes. Emails from Mom going back years. Things I held on to but didn't understand until last week. There's an email in there where she pretended to be you on a shared account. I kept everything she ever sent me that felt off. See, I never knew why I was keeping it. I pressed the folder to my chest on the drive home. Save what can be saved. File the rest in that order. 3 weeks after Aunt Rosemary's birthday, my parents' neighbor Frank Okafor ran into Marcus at the hardware store. Frank didn't intend to share anything. Frank just wasn't comfortable with silence. Your girlfriend's mother keeps moving that envelope around the kitchen, he said. Hasn't opened it once. Just relocates it. My wife saw it on the windowsill 2 days ago. Marcus told me that evening. Let her, I said. Lund has his copy. The court has its copy. Whether she opens hers is her own business. But that weekend I mailed a second envelope. This one was small, standard white, addressed to her at the Westbrook house. Inside, one photograph. Me and Marcus standing on the front porch of the Pine Ridge house. Keys in my hand. The morning we closed. Afternoon light on the white shutters. Cleo, our rescue, sitting at our feet with her eyes half closed. On the back of the photo in my handwriting, you were right. You made me. I used everything you taught me to stop you. Please don't come to the wedding. See, that was all. I dropped it in the blue mailbox outside the Westbrook post office on a Monday at 3:48 p.m. Frank, reliable as ever, told Marcus 7 weeks later that my mother never opened that one either. She kept it on her nightstand in a small dish with a button and a medal. He said she looked at it every night before she turned the lamp off. She did not open it. Neither envelope has been opened to this day. The first was evidence. The second was peace. That was her choice to make. I'd sent it. My part was done. We closed on Pine Ridge 5 weeks after Aunt Rosemary's party. Credit score at signing. 791. Patrick Huang from First Horizon called me personally. Ms. Merritt, I can't tell you what you did. I can tell you I have never seen a file turnaround like that. Congratulations. We moved in on a Saturday. Marcus, me, Marcus's father, Trisha, Derek, and Sylvia, who carried boxes from her car like she'd done it in every place I'd ever lived. I planted herbs along the back fence in March. Cleo knocked most of them over in May. I replanted them. She knocked them over again. We reached an arrangement. Aunt Rosemary came for Sunday lunch every other week. She sat in the window nook and read the local paper and ate Trisha's lemon cake, which Trisha had finally learned to bake. Rosemary said Trisha's was better than mine. I chose to take it well. My father sent me a message in April. 7 words. I'm sorry. In therapy. Please be patient. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I archived it. That is what archiving is for. It isn't forgiveness. It isn't rejection. It is a holding place for a sentence while you figure out what it means. My mother sent nothing. The preliminary hearing was 5 weeks out. Lund had accepted the principal plus lien. The criminal referral was on the DA schedule for later in the year. None of this was mine to manage any further. Some evenings I walked barefoot through the backyard. Cleo padding behind me. The peach tree starting to bud. Boundaries are not barriers. They are property lines. You can be gracious from your side. You simply can't be charged for standing on your own ground anymore. I had my name back. I had my house. I had my sister. I was okay. One Tuesday morning in August, I was driving to Chambers and Voss at 7:55 a.m. I turned on a podcast. The episode was titled, Reclaiming Your Identity. A caller's voice came through. It sounded like my voice at 29 on a very hard day. I cut contact with my parents after discovering they had been using my social security number since I was a teenager. I'm still working through it. I thought I was the only one. I pulled into a parking lot. I listened. The host asked, "How are you doing today?" "I'm still here." "That's enough for right now." "Yes," she said. "That's enough for right now." Then the host said something I carried for a long time after. Protecting yourself is not the opposite of love. Sometimes it is the truest form of it. I sat in that parking lot for a while. I watched a man in a work jacket fill his tank across the street. A generation of women had been taught that endurance was love. We had been told that silence was dignity. We had been told that the word no was proof of ingratitude. We were learning something different now. We were learning that honesty is also love, even when it arrives by certified mail. I pulled back onto the road. I had 3 new consultations on my calendar that morning. 3 different situations. 3 people who needed someone to walk them through the process. I poured my coffee. I got to work. Marcus and I were married on a Saturday in October in the backyard of the Pine Ridge house. 24 guests. Sylvia in a dark green blazer. Trisha and Derek. Marcus's parents. My best friend Noelle from law school. 2 colleagues from the firm. Aunt Rosemary in a cream dress she had made herself in 1989 and saved for something worth wearing. My parents were not there. My father was 60 days into therapy. That was something I could feel grateful for. It wasn't enough for an invitation. My mother was not invited. She would not have come regardless. Aunt Rosemary walked me across the grass. My father's traditional role. She took it without any explanation needed. No one at our wedding required a speech about why. The people who understood already understood. When we reached Marcus, she leaned up and whispered, "Your mother called me 2 nights ago. What did you tell her?" I told her the same thing I told her the one time she lied to me about something that mattered. "Say you're sorry or don't come back." She hung up on me. She kissed my cheek. We were married under an arch Trisha built herself from branches she collected on walks that fall. Cleo slept under the dessert table through every toast. That night, after the last guest left, I sat on the back steps with my aunt. We shared a slice of wedding cake from the same plate. "Any regrets, Cass?" "Just one, Rosie." "Tell me." "I waited too long." "That's a short list." "It's the only one on it." She held my hand. The sky above the Pine Ridge backyard was full of stars. My house. My name. My peace. All 3. Finally mine. If you made it all the way here with me, thank you. If there's an envelope you've been drafting in your head, you don't need to feel ready. You need the right steps and one person standing beside you. If something in this story put words to something you've been holding, type 1 word in the comments. Begin. I read every one. And if you want to hear about the second call I received from the credit bureau 4 months later, the one I haven't told you about yet, that video is linked in the description.